Tom Schwartz is finally questioning his friendship with Sandoval,
seemingly putting a cap on their bromance.
which begs the question, what does Vanderpump Rules season 11 look like?
Plus, we'll break down the most shocking parts of Secrets Revealed. Welcome back to the Real Couchwives podcast, where we overanalyze all things Bravo.
Now that Vanderpump Rules is over, Tom Schwartz seems to be getting a little bit more critical of Tom Sandoval, at least in his most recent interviews. He seems to be starting to turn on him. We've seen him go on Stars on Mars. We've seen him go on Jackson and Brittany's podcast, which we're going to get into, where he actually says they're taking a break. Do you believe it?
I do believe it to a certain extent. I think Tom Sandoval put him in like an impossible situation, right? This is his business partner. This is his best friend. This is his support system. And he asked him to like lie about like basically one of the worst things that you could lie about. I think just overall, like Schwartz was already having like a very difficult year, and the things that Sandoval then kind of put him into like just made it even worse. And I can kind of understand why Tom Schwartz would want to take a step back from their friendship and be like, okay, I think I need to reevaluate my priorities here, which
For sure.
I think is going to make a pretty interesting season 11, honestly.
Oh, totally. The friendship dynamics are just like constantly changing, which we definitely are going to get into. The thing with Schwartz is that's like kind of complicated is it's almost it's a Schwartzism. He does these things all season where like you can't really back him, right? Like the way that he acted towards Katie, and like he did really co-sign these lies that Tom Sandoval was saying. But then like there's still that Schwartz part where like I do think he like deep down has something in him that makes him be a little bit sympathetic or empathetic. He did have a lot going on in his life, I think, like you said, with his dad. Then again, the things that he's saying, though, I still feel like he's missing the point a little bit. He thinks the worst thing that happened here was the lie rather than the cheating. Like he keeps saying that Sandoval should have come clean and all of these things. But it is pretty interesting to hear him go on Jack and Brittany's podcast and actually say he has an ego, you know, like Sandoval needs to drop the ego. I know he's itching to like get his side of the story out, but like once you cheat, you lose that. No one's going to take you seriously anymore. Yeah. And like he just needs to apologize and not say but. And you were like, fine, like thank you. Thank you for finally saying this.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like pretty rich for him to be saying that. Sandoval went on to Howie Mandel's podcast. Howie Mandel confirmed that like he wasn't going to question him. He wasn't going to go against him. He was going to allow Tom Sandoval to tell the full story in his own words. And Tom Sandoval did that. And it was riddled with lies. We knew that it was riddled with lies. Yeah. And then he's also just been like, so, woe is me. Like, we need to be sympathetic towards me, Tom Sandoval. And I don't understand why everybody thinks this is such a big deal. And Howie Mandel also completely co-signed that, being like, yeah, I don't understand why this is news on CNN. And it's like, well, you don't watch the TV show, so no wonder you don't see why we're all like up in arms about this.
Yes,
that we won't go there.
No, we won't go. We do have a podcast episode on that if you want to check it out. But that was so infuriating. It's so true. Like he's already said his side of the story. Plus, he's already tried to curate his narrative so much on the show. Like there's nothing else that he can say about this. But at least Schwartz is now saying, he doesn't get that chance. Like he just needs to kind of suck it up and like. Own what it is that he's done. Yeah. He did say as well in this interview that was interesting that he feels like he got kind of exploited by him because he just like took everything that Sandoval was saying about Ariana as fact, that like their relationship was not in this good place. And now he kind of like made this big mess and he needs to clean it up. But one of the things that Schwartz keeps kind of like saying too is he's like, I am not in a relationship with Ariana. Like I didn't cheat on her.
But my problem with that is that you are in a relationship with Ariana. Like you might not be in a physical, like committed, like romantic relationship with Ariana, but you still have a relationship with this person. Like even seeing in the Secrets Revealed episode, like Ariana, like hugging Tom as Tom Schwartz, as he's crying in their like old apartment or whatever. He's like crying over the tea towel of like his and Katie's wedding. She was there for him for that wedding. She was his best man. Like this is a thing that we've brought up a bunch of times. Yeah. But like they had a friendship. And for him to be like, oh, well, I don't have a relationship with Ariana because you're not having sex with Ariana or you're not like in that kind of relationship, like you still have a relationship. And I think that's really unfortunate that he's kind of going that direction, right?
It is really true. Like he was obviously he's better friends with Sandoval, but like you still have a friendship with Ariana and you still owe her that much. And I also just don't buy the fact that everything, like, you know, you could tell if a relationship is not going well, like unless they're
Yeah.
like super well, like good at hiding it. He did say he regrets just kind of like going into it so blindly and just accepting everything Sandoval's saying. But he said, you know, to your point, he had a lot going on in his life. His dad had almost passed away, and his brother was diagnosed with cancer. So he had like, he didn't have a lot of bandwidth to take that on, but he still did help Sandoval put that story together in the episode, right? Like he still played that good little soldier who was just like, yeah, your relationship, like I noticed things, and like she could be mean to you, and you know, that's a slippery slope. Like no one made you say those things in like on camera. Like you were not as blind to this as you make it seem.
Yeah, you fully participated in this like Ariana slander, and like maybe you were just like going based on like what your friend was saying, and you were like, yeah, great buddy, I'm gonna support you 100%, but like just own up to that. And I think that's the problem too that I have with Schwartz. We know kind of like peripherally that he is having these like family problems. He like talks about them a little bit, but we don't get like a fully authentic version, I don't think, of Schwartz, right? He puts on this like veneer. He very much like has kind of like this like character that he plays, the like woe is me, the puppy dog, the you know, let me put out a hypothetical situation for you, kind of like he does these kind of like little bits. And he's really like hiding behind that character that he puts out of himself. And so we're not kind of like getting the full story from Schwartz. And I wonder if, you know, kind of like this like rift in this friendship kind of destabilizes the two Toms and kind of does get us a little bit more of like a compelling story from both of them next season.
It's true. And actually in the interview with Jax and Brittany, he even says, you know, like watching the show, it looks like my life completely runs around Tom Sandoval, and that he just like tells me what to do and what to say. And like, that can't be further from the truth. And it's like, well, that's the only thing that we've seen, you know?
Yeah, like you're literally riding in the sidecar while he's driving the motorcycle. And like Katie was going to bat for Tom Schwartz in season 9 because she knew that Tom Schwartz didn't want to call their bar Schwartz and Sandy's. And then as soon as he was like confronted by Tom Sandoval about it, he was like, yeah, no, I'm fine with that name. Like, you know, whatever. And lo and behold, it's named Schwartz and Sandy's, and like it's taken 18 months for them to open it. It's gone through 8 million redesigns, and you know, they can't figure out the cocktail menu. And like Tom Sandoval has been out on tour and like getting his nails done. I just don't understand how Tom Schwartz hasn't seen how like his best friend has completely messed up his life for him. Like this is the guy that you've like co-signed all of his bad behavior basically up until this point.
No, it has. And like, I think that we're really seeing things in such a different light. Like we always thought that it was like Katie who was kind of coming between Tom Sandoval and Tom Schwartz's friendship. But in reality, it was really Tom Sandoval who was coming between Katie and Tom's marriage.
Yeah.
And you see that so much now with everything that's happening. Like Katie is out of the picture, and these things are still happening to Schwartz. And you know, I'm actually shocked he's not more angry, because like Sandoval has really had an impact on his life. Exactly what Katie had said at one point. She's like, you're going to lose all of your friends because of your friendship with this guy. And he just like, even then he was like, I don't think so.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And now he's like, maybe she has a point.
She's right. Yeah, exactly.
I still just don't see them breaking up. Like I don't see them ever not being friends.
No. And I think a lot of what kind of that stems from too is the relationship that they've had with like Jax Taylor as well. Like the 3 boys of this show, they always had like ammunition and like different things that they could use against each other. So they could like never really like cross one another because they
mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, exactly. They've always known each other's secrets. You know, I do kind of like wonder if like there's a little bit of that happening here as well, where like they still have to be friends, and it's like a bit of a friendship of convenience, because like this guy knows all of the dirty secrets that he could very easily reveal just as many about myself as I am able to reveal about him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Speaking of Jax, and speaking of the future of Vanderpump Rules, it's being heavily speculated that Jax and Brittany are coming back.
Yeah, what do you
Why
think?
are we swapping one bad guy out with another? Like, we're just like in this like constant loop.
I know, and I feel like Bravo like has this like bad like tendency to just bring back old people because they're like, this will fix the problem. There's no issues now. We
They're like,
brought back
look over
Jack Taylor. You
here.
guys will be happy, right? Like this is good.
Number one guy in the group.
Yeah, we love him. I really hope that if Jax and Brittany do come back, it's really just in like a super like supporting, like they're not there as like they're not there as full-time cast members. I want them there as like
they're
support.
friend of.
No, yeah, exactly. I want them as like supporting characters, the Greek chorus in like the Shakespeare play. Like they just like come in every once in a while and they leave.
Jax won't let that happen. Like even
yeah.
So I actually haven't listened to his podcast except for this Schwartz episode out of necessity.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because even in this episode, like Jax just keeps trying to like interrupt Schwartz or like kind of narrate the story from Schwartz's perspective or like just get his own perspective in there. Like he needs to talk. He needs to be the center of attention. I think at one point Brittany's literally like just like, okay, but let's hear it from Schwartz because like
we're interviewing somebody, honey. Like,
yeah,
come on.
And so like I just worry that if he comes back, he's just gonna like be extra crazy and like he's just gonna try to earn that main spot back, and it's just gonna be like, you know how people call him Cocaine Bear?
Yeah, I do.
Like
he's gonna be that.
Like look at him and watch what happens live.
Yeah,
like...
it's true. And both of them like a little bit to a certain extent, like I realized that they were playing like different parts, but both of them were a little bit like frothing at the mouth, like they were so excited to like be in the spotlight again and like be kind of like center stage, and like, you want to hear my opinions, or like what is it, that TikTok sound, you want to hear my theories, like let me tell you about my theories. I've just butchered that, so I'm so sorry, like to anybody that watches TikTok religiously, like please put it in the comments what the actual thing is, because I can't remember in this moment.
I don't know, like
yeah,
part of me is curious to what that could look like, but I also just like I'm perfectly happy without having Jax Taylor back on my screen. I just feel like it misses the point. Like if we're literally replacing Sandoval with Jax, like we're Spider-Man memeing. It always comes back to the Spider-Man
always back to the Spider-Man meme. No, but you're right. I you know, you bring up a really good point. Like, yes, in theory, I'm okay with him coming back as like a very like supporting character, like back of the background.
Just bring a little bit of chaos and like run away.
Exactly, like sprinkle it in, like Salt Bae.
Salt Bae.
Aging ourselves now. I was rewatching season 7 recently because I think everybody is like doing a rewatch of Vanderpump Rules now.
It's the best, like most comfort thing you could do, except for this season.
Yeah. And like the season 7 reunion like is just so chaotic. You've got Stassi and Kristen and Jax and Brittany all there still. They're just like going after James. Like it's so intense, and it's just like it really was like too many people and too many personalities in one room, which was obviously great for like getting them to all like fight and be like super aggressive, but it just like didn't really help foster like a good storyline. Like I actually think that we're kind of like we're leaving a little bit more room to breathe in the space if we like don't bring back all these personalities and we just let them kind of like let's see where this unfolds first, right? Like let's see what happens to season 11 in a more pure form.
I mean, I guess it just all comes down to like who's going to be willing to film with Raquel and Tom. Even Sheena actually said, I hope everyone comes back because we want to see what happens. And also like I think they know that they're gonna have to. I just hope that they don't put Ariana in a spot where she has to film with anyone that she feels uncomfortable with. But yeah, I honestly have no idea. Like I don't even know where we go from here. I think that the fire had started to like die out a little bit. I think we're all getting a little bit burned out from everything Scandoval, so we're almost like, oh wow, we can like breathe. As crazy as this adventure kind of has been. But then we saw secrets revealed and just how brazen Raquel and Tom were acting like the day after their, you know, first hookup or second
hours
whatever
after their first hookup. Like...
And that just kind of like reignited everyone's fire for it, which we're going to get into right after this. But if you have not already subscribed, please do so. Help us get to BravoCon so we can give you all the live action, or if you're going to be there, we'll come meet you. So we have to get to 1,000 subscribers to get there. We are almost there, so please like and subscribe. Thank you so much to all our couchies. So this Secrets Revealed was actually titled the most shocking secrets revealed in Vanderpump Rules history. And it's funny because I think had Scandoval not happened, maybe these scenes would not have been as potent. Like they would have just been like, oh, haha, funny. But because of everything we knew, They were really crazy. Like the brazenness of Tom and Raquel in so many of these scenes was just wild.
Oh my God, it was so wild. And it was so interesting to see just kind of like the retelling of a lot of these events, right? Like these are things that we've seen and we kind of like knew had happened, but we haven't like literally gotten to see them with our own eyes. Like us watching Raquel tell Ariana and Tom the night after, like literally, or the day after, she's like, Raquel has just hooked up with Tom the night before.
It was disgusting.
It was disgusting. But then she's like Raquel's recounting being in Las Vegas and like telling why she left the Las Vegas trip early. And like just her version of events with this whole like Lala story. I literally wrote it down. Lala mentions that he has the cutest smile ever, and then I turn to Lala and I'm like, wait, Lala, I think he's really cute too. And then literally like the freaking like smile on Sandoval's face while she's like saying that, you're just like, oh. But then she says that Lala basically gives her permission, says, you know, Raquel,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do anything, like you go with him. And then obviously like she then does get the green light from Lala. She goes ahead and she makes out with him. We're making out on the dance floor and Ariana's so happy to hear that she made out with somebody.
No.
And then Raquel's like, and then all of a sudden it turns into this whole, we really need to talk, Raquel. And Lala basically goes, you know, honestly, Raquel, I wouldn't feel comfortable having you around my man. And then I said, well, it's a good thing you don't have one, which is just like, not super accurate. What you actually said was, I mean, like, thank God you don't have a man to like, you know, effing have around.
Yeah. Like it was not this triumphant moment.
It was not this triumphant moment. It was like very much like a let me find the next word that I want to get to.
And she's even come out later and been like, oh my God, I was just so drunk and I was like word vomiting. Like she didn't try to make it seem like this was like a whole like moment for her. Like,
yeah. Well, and so I did
she
actually
wants to look cool in front of her crush.
She does. She wants to look cool. She wants to look, and well, especially because like her crush Sandoval is like all anti-Lala and he wants to bring Lala down.
That's true.
So like obviously like if she can be like, look at what I did, look at what I said to her, I put Lala in her place.
Yeah.
But like it was just really interesting to go back and actually rewatch like episode 5 and 6, which is kind of like when the Vegas trip, or at least that portion of the Vegas trip takes place. And you know, like right off the bat, they go to Vanderpump Paris and you know, it's questioned immediately, like, is he separated? Is he in a relationship? He does lie at the club and he does say, no, I'm separated, which like obviously it was a little bit like it's still a bit of a gray zone, right? Like he's clearly lying. He might have been separated, but like the lines were not clearly drawn between whatever was happening between him and his ex. And Lala does give Raquel the green light to go forward, but I think when you know when Raquel comes back from the club and is like freaking wasted, like she trips over her shoe when she gets off the elevator, she has to take off her shoes like right away. Like she's clear, like she doesn't even know that she can't put aluminum foil in the microwave. Like this girl is gone. And so she just like Raquel, basically Lala is saying to her, you know, Raquel, I know I gave you the green light today, but like I will say I would never trust you around my man while you're drinking, which I think was more of like an indication of like you're super drunk and I can't trust you when you're drunk. And like in a hypothetical situation that's not this situation, I wouldn't be able to do that. And Raquel's recount of this is obviously so different. It's very honed in on that Oliver situation and thinking that Lala's jealous of her because Raquel is Miss I'm gonna make out with your man, as Katie says. And it's just hilarious to like have this kind of like all be told back to us like in this secrets revealed and have all of this like refresh happen after we've seen Raquel's like super tearful, like, you know, I was lying for Sandoval confessional at the end of season 10 part 3 reunion. Is like she like she really like won over, I think, a lot of the audience like back onto her side and like brought a lot of sympathy out. And then to like actually go back and watch those earlier episodes, but then also to watch the secrets revealed, you're like reminded, you're like, oh right, so she wanted to make out with like Katie's ex-husband. She wanted to make out with Oliver, even though Lala's had a crush on him for years. And she literally had a 7-month affair with Sandoval, even though he was in a relationship with Ariana. Like,
well, that's it. I've seen some people online being like, I thought I was numb to this, or like I thought I was kind of like over this storyline, and then like I saw this and I got so angry again because like it was just so blatant. It was crazy. Like I was actually shocked that this is literally the day after they had hooked up. Like this is a few hours later, basically. The fact that she even has the audacity to come to the house, give them flowers.
Yeah.
And like, did you see them giggling with each other? And then like Tom Sandoval's like, oh, like I haven't seen you in so long. I barely even recognize you. And they're just like giggling. It was just like, this is sick.
It
like,
is.
This is actually twisted.
And even like him addressing the fact that like, oh, I missed, because he said at the beginning of the scene before Raquel and Charlie have even arrived, Ariana and Tom are in the kitchen, and he's like, oh, you know, last night was fun, but I missed you last night. Technically, it was supposed to be a guy's night. So he really strategically like lays down these like tiny little like bits of information to like make it seem super casual about the fact that like Raquel ended up being at guys' night, and like, oh, it would have been so fun if you had been there, but you weren't, so I hooked up with somebody else. Like,
oh my god, yeah,
it's so messed up.
Yeah, I'm shocked that one didn't make the cut. I actually didn't know Secrets Revealed was also going to have parts of after the affair came out.
That was interesting to get to see.
Yeah, there was like extra tidbits in there too. The other one that stood out to me that was just like so sad is the date night between Ariana and Sandoval, which again, like without everything that had happened, it would just be like a fun, cute date night. But now there's like so much behind it. There was a couple things in that scene that I wanted to break down. The first one is when Tom Sandoval's like, oh, I'm like a 39-year-old boy. And then it was like, fact check, he's 40.
Yeah.
And that is just everything you need to know about Tom Sandoval.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been like lying about his age apparently for years, which like I didn't know, because I didn't know how old he was, because I guess like that information was never readily shared the same way that it has been with like Jax or Stassi, who are also always celebrating their birthdays like during the filming. Right. Interesting little tidbit. Yeah.
Actually, really quick tidbit on that. It's totally not related to this, but I was listening to Stassi on Call Her Daddy, and then they're actually talking about how like the first few seasons she like definitely was so obsessed with her birthday, but then she said she kind of like got over that, but Bravo was like, no, like this is your thing now, like you love your birthday.
You don't get to have another personality trait.
Which so fair funny. It's fun.
It was fun, it was good.
But yeah, watching that date and just like watching Ariana be just like so giddy was just so hard to watch. She was so happy to finally be putting in like this quality time that she had been looking for. And I think one of the things she said was like she's really excited to rebuild their kind of like romantic times because they have this really great foundation, and you know, she understands that he has been making these sacrifices and they're worth it because she wants him to succeed, but she just missed being together. And it's like, just knowing that he literally has already hooked up with someone at this point, someone being her best friend. And I really feel like he was just doing this to get a date night on camera. Like, I think that he wanted to be like, look, like I was putting in an effort.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also like, because you talk about her confessional saying that, and like, if you literally like spliced together like their two confessionals talking about their relationships, like the juxtaposition of like what she would have been saying and what he would have been saying would just be like, maybe at the beginning before it would have been like fairly similar.
Because he was saying that at the beginning.
He was saying at the beginning, right? Like when he was like talking about opening Schwartz and Sandy's, he was saying like, you know, I hope what happened to Tom and Katie doesn't happen to Ariana and I. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like, oh, Ariana's the meanest person ever. She won't let me have a birthday party. Like, and it's just like, oh wow, what happened in those you know, those couple weeks of confessionals? Like, because they just so people know, like, they film the confessionals throughout the season so that they are trying to capture like as much real raw like emotion in the moment, and you're not just like fully going back at the end of the season and like reliving it and being like, oh yeah, this is maybe how I felt in the moment.
I didn't actually know that. I didn't know that they
Yeah.
filmed multiple throughout the season until this season, where I feel like they started to break the fourth wall. And like, there was a scene where Schwartz, I think, was at home, and then Sandoval called him from his confessional.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
I know, I love that. More breaking of the fourth wall, please. Like, that's where the reality of reality TV really lives. Yeah, this scene in general with them like at the skating rink was so hard. It was hard to watch. It was mainly hard to watch, I think, personally, because I was picking up on what you were putting down there. Like, he was laying groundwork for them to be able to kind of like have this like breakup happen. And he wanted to make it look like he was the one putting in the effort. He was the one creating the date nights. He was doing these things, and it just wasn't working between them. But like her kind of like last statement at the end where she's like, I was talking to Katie, and, I'm telling Katie, you're going to have to work really hard to have me just absolutely not love Raquel. I love her so much. We spent so much time together on trips. We have this really beautiful friendship family. And like, it's just,
yeah, that was so hard. The friendship family specifically, like, that, and I think that really speaks to a lot of why Ariana was like, a lot of people are like, how did you not know? Like, they literally, like, they called it a friendship family. Like, they were family. They were so close that like she didn't think anything of the way that they were acting together. And like, the fact that he broke that, and he broke that trust, and like, I can imagine how difficult that trust would be to build back for her. That's like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally, because I wrote it down as well. Like, we've stayed at houses together. Like, it sucks that you guys don't have that friendship family that we've had the last few years. And then he's like, it's such a transparent love. Everyone helps each other out. It's just like,
I clocked that too.
Yeah.
Why did he use the word transparent? Like,
it's a very transparent love. Like,
it's just such an interesting thing. Like, I don't think that we even really fit that sentence. Like, why would you say, like, have you ever heard of a love being described as transparent?
We have the most transparent love ever. It's crazy.
It's just like, it was such an interesting choice, especially because he was being the opposite of transparent at that time.
The exact opposite of transparent, like 100%, like very opaque. all of the opacity is on. But that scene was definitely really hard to watch, and I think that does really speak to like why this betrayal has been so hard for Ariana. And like, I've heard like different podcasts and stuff where people like, everybody has different opinions, right? Like, some people don't see like that they actually had that great of a friendship. Maybe because you don't see it on camera, you don't think that friendship exists. I don't know. But
why would they lie? Like, I don't understand that.
But like, literally, I was listening to a podcast earlier today. I got like so mad because they were saying like, oh, I think that Lala basically created like the idea that Ariana and Raquel were best friends, and that they were using that term super loosely. But it's like, no, like, Tom and Ariana like fully integrated Raquel into their friendship family. Like, and I'm like, did you not watch the season? Like, did you not watch Ariana like multiple times go to bat for Raquel and say like, she's my best friend, like, I love her, like she
even went to bat with her in her confessionals, like, which is not even in the group scenarios.
Exactly. There's no reason for her to be like lying about being best friends with Raquel. And like, literally, we're watching like Raquel like crying at her like glamping birthday party, and Ariana is the person that she's like crying, like the shoulder that she's crying onto. Like, these people had a close friendship. Like, I don't want us to downplay that and like completely, move the blame off of Raquel and be like, oh, Raquel was just like, led astray by a narcissist, which like I think that she was, but I also think that like Raquel played a part in this, and I don't want her to like, because she had this like confessional moment, her to like completely like be rid of any blame of like what she's done here.
No, for sure. There's also a lot of talk online of like, how there's no perfect victim, and like I think people are starting to like scrutinize Ariana a little bit. Not very many, luckily, but like that is out there a little bit. So. And it's just so unfair, like, yes, Ariana of course was harsh at the reunion, but like, she had every right to be, because this was so fresh off of learning about this betrayal. And she's even said in the past, like, if she doesn't feed into her anger, she's going to fall apart. So it's just like, the whole thing is so crazy. Like we've been seeing, we've seen a lot of kind of like nuanced takes on Raquel too. Like you can't just it isn't just black or white. Like there's so much going on. We've talked about before, like with Raquel as well, that it's hard to just like label one way or another. But I don't think it's fair at all to take anything away from Ariana and say that she, you know, was being too harsh or anything.
Yeah.
And Raquel has objectively done very horrible things, and you can't like, you know.
I think what the main thing that people are judging Ariana on are her like final part of the reunion, where she is very harsh and says like some very, you know, pretty graphic things towards Raquel. And she's also made like a buttload of money off of this.
That's true.
Like this breakup, plus like there's, you know, obviously all of the people that think that this is fake, which like you're entitled to think whatever you think, but like I don't think it is fake.
No. They're not that good of actors.
They're not that good of actors, and like Bravo's not that good at crafting storylines. I've said it before.
Yeah,
I'll say it again.
That.
Like if they could craft this every season, they would be crafting this every season. They're
100%.
unfortunately not that good at that. But yeah, like, and so like those are the things that like I think are like piquing people's like attention, which I think is fair, but at the same time, like Bravo deliberately chose to film the reunion 3 weeks after, or they decided to continue. Like if they'd already had it blocked off of the calendar, they decided to go forward with it 3 weeks after, or they did like set it up like to happen 3 weeks after this happened. So emotions were very raw like at that point, and like emotions were going to be very raw at that point, which did create like a pretty intense reunion, which I guess is good in some ways, but also like I think we said this before as well, like usually a reunion happens like 6 to 8 months after the last filming has happened.
That's
like,
a good point.
They usually have this like immense amount of breathing room to be able to actually process all of their thoughts and feelings. They get to rewatch it, and maybe that does reignite like some things, but it's still not like the level of intensity that you're like dealing with when something literally just happened like a couple weeks ago.
No,
so I think that's also why Brianna, the newest character of Vanderpump Rules, that's what's coming in season 11, is why she's like so upset about all this.
Well, one thing too, actually, I was listening to Reality Bites, which I love. They have such good takes. I love Reality Bites. Especially because like one of them is executive producer, and I actually didn't realize that she worked on Southern Charm in season 5, which is so exciting,
which is like what's one of the best seasons of Southern Charm.
So good. And she brought up a really interesting point, which like she can see a little bit of a comparison, the way that the world just kind of like really went against Kathryn. Like she was really vilified on a national stage more than Thomas was, when Thomas was so manipulative. I mean, like we could actually go on to so many episodes just talking about the issues with, you know, Kathryn and Thomas from Southern Charm, because he's also like 30 years older than her, and she was like a child. So obviously, well, okay, she wasn't actually a child. She was like, you know, she was 21. She was 30 years younger than him.
And
but like guys, it is true.
Yeah. If you guys want us to do a Southern Charm recap, let us know, because we would 100% do a Southern Charm recap.
Oh yes, would love to do that. You know, Raquel is getting a lot of the brunt here. Scandoval is too. At least like, so there's not as much of a discrepancy, but you can see, you know, a little. I could see a little bit of those similarities of just how much like, because Raquel definitely. There was manipulation involved in here, and I honestly like there's so like we've been saying, like I think there's so much that's going to continue to come out as she's able to start processing what has been happening here. I do hope that she is able to recognize her part in it, because as we said, there's so many things that aren't excusable, but it is, we've said this before, like it's such a, there is a human interest piece here. Like there is a documentary that's waiting to come out, because it is just wild. Like the levels that she has, even for her to disassociate the way that she did at the reunion, like how does one do that?
Yeah. Or like, what were you on? Because that's also been speculated. Like maybe you were on like something that was just going to like calm you down and like keep you, or I've also been thinking like, if you've grown up in pageants, like maybe you're just used to like hearing critiques and criticism, and you're just supposed to like internalize it and take it in and like not react, right? You're literally standing in front of a panel of judges who are probably going to tell you like, you know, you're a 7 out of 10, you're whatever, like you're going to hear all this like stuff. I am assuming, I haven't actually been to a pageant, so this is based on like what I interpret a pageant would be like. but you probably are used to hearing those critiques, and you just like, you take them in, you're not supposed to respond, you're not supposed to say anything, you just like wait until it's your turn to speak, and then you speak. And that's kind of what she did at the reunion. I do think it's interesting that you bring up Kathryn Dennis, because Kathryn is definitely like, she has gone through all of the cycles of a character on a Bravo TV show. Like, she has been the absolute villain, she's been the like center of drama, she's done it literally all. And she has had some pretty incredible like redemption seasons, like when Cam finally understood what Kathryn had gone through like all these years. Like, that was one of the most emotional reunions I think I've ever kind of like experienced up to a certain point, because it felt very real and raw that like, you know, people did start to finally sympathize with what Kathryn was going through, because they were no longer just like blatantly like blindly friends with Thomas.
And
yeah,
the similarities too is like, I feel like Southern Charm has always been so good because the drama was so real. Like, what they were going on, like what was happening in these lives was like them having like children and like having all of, you know, like having all of these, okay, them having children, for people who haven't watched, is probably like, what do you mean the drama is that they had kids?
Trust me, the drama, just watch season 1, okay? Just watch season 1 and like get through season 1, and then you'll see it.
Well, yeah, we'll always remember watching that last episode in season 1 where Thomas and Kathryn break up, and then you see like a few months later and you hear a baby crying, and it was just wild. So
best reveal ever.
total tangent, but that's like, you know, that's also what's making this season so real as well. Is like, this is actual drama that's going on. I do really quickly also want to talk about some of the scenes that we saw with Katie and Tom, because I do feel like after, you know, Scandoval happened, we were really robbed of a lot of the Katie and Tom like storylines. We were definitely robbed of it in the reunion. We didn't get like anything about them, and this is a 12-year marriage dissolution, or 12-year relationship, you know, dissolution that we saw, and it kind of is a bit unfortunate that it was put kind of onto the back burner because of Scandoval and all these things that happened.
Well, and it's crazy to think too, like when we went into season 10 of Vanderpump Rules, like Tom and Katie's relationship was the central storyline of the show, right? Like, it was gonna be all about Tom Schwartz and Katie getting divorced. They picked up cameras early so that he could so that they could film them still living together. They then kind of like resume filming, and like they're in the midst of kind of like selling their house. They're trying to like find their way, and then like Raquel kind of like coming in and being a bit of like the third wheel or the wild card or whatever, the wrench in the plan of this like friendship that they were going to have. Was going to be the central story for the entire season. And originally when they filmed the finale, like the original version of the finale, like that took place in like September at the like Sir party, like the closing party for Something About Her, that was supposed to be like the end of that storyline, and it was fully focused around Tom, Katie, and Raquel. And like Tom Sandoval and Ariana were like just supporting characters that were kind of in that episode, and they were not like the central figures.
No, it's so true. And
it's
like,
just wild.
Yeah, back when the Tom and Raquel kiss was the most scandalous thing that had happened on Vanderpump Rules. And
rocked the nation.
the thing that I did actually like seeing these scenes and seeing like Tom actually start to have emotion and like get upset. Not that I like to see him upset, but like, you know, he's finally realizing the weight of what had happened in his relationship, right? Like, he's finally understanding that they are not together anymore, and you know, it you can't sit there and not feel some kind of way when you see him crying and like just being really distraught that like Katie's going on dates. But then you kind of remember, this is just too little too late, you know. Like, he is finally putting in this effort, and he's finally realizing what he's lost, and that's what Katie's been waiting for him to do for years. And it was so clear that Katie was just done when you saw the way that she reacted. Like, she literally just stared at him kind of blankly as he's crying. And that could probably be interpreted a lot of different ways, but in my mind, it was just like, she had already mourned this, you know. Like, she even said, she's like, I've been fighting for this relationship for 12 years, and like he's just now getting to the point where I think she wanted him to be at for a long time.
Yeah.
And they're just like, they're not on the same level. Like that's always been the issue.
Yeah. To me, honestly, it kind of felt like when a little child has like a toy taken away. Like they're finally experiencing the repercussions for like whatever they've just done, and they have the toy taken away, and then they're like, I can't believe that the toy was taken away. I don't understand. And like that's kind of what it felt like witnessing Schwartz throughout this season, quite frankly, because like he has it taken away, and so then his like decision is, okay, well, let me see how I can get like revenge on Katie, and like let me, like, Katie's the man, Katie's like the mom, like she's always had to play like this like disciplinary kind of character in his life, and now he's like, I'm gonna rebel against that, and I'm gonna like go make out with Raquel
Oh my gosh,
to spite Katie.
That is the perfect analogy. That is,
oh, thank you.
That is so true.
And I'm just so annoyed because I don't know, I want Tom Schwartz to be better, and like,
I know,
am I gonna be waiting forever like for Tom Schwartz to like finally grow up, and like am I gonna be like Katie Maloney, like waiting
are we Katie?
Are we Katie?
Well, that's just it. And I think that's why you feel bad when you watch it, because you're like, I feel like deep down there's like there's good here. Like I feel like there's a glimmer of hope, and like that's probably why Katie stayed for so long, because he would like show, like, I'm sure when they're together he showed her those parts that make her want to stay, but like he never put her first. And I think now, you know, you do have to question some of these revelations that he's having, that like everything is blown up in his face, and now he's finally like, oh, maybe those were the wrong choices, like maybe Katie wasn't so mean in my marriage, maybe Sandoval did kind of like take advantage of me and exploit me, and maybe I shouldn't have just like blindly followed him. It's also the same way that he's like spun this story of like, oh, if I'd known like how badly everyone would have reacted to my kiss with Raquel, I wouldn't have done it. And it's like, everyone has told you how bad they were gonna react.
You were told multiple times that this was like not a good life choice, and yet you still did it. And then you were like, I don't understand why there's repercussions to my actions. Like,
so I do question even this like breakup with Tom, and like even him coming out against him is a little bit of like, oh crap, like people really don't like him, like I think I need to take some distance. Because even in his taking distance from him, he's kind of on a loop saying the same things. Oh, like I didn't realize the extent of it, like he got lost in the sauce.
He's a heroin addict. And Raquel is his heroine, like what the heck. Also claiming this, like I didn't have the affair, you know, like I was just his friend, like I don't know. I do think he is probably taking a bit of a step back now, just to close this whole storyline. I just don't know how long it'll last. And I'm glad we got those scenes with Katie, though. I'm glad she got to have that confessional. I'm sad that actually got cut from the show. I know. I think that would have been a really good thing for us to get to see. I do think it's unfortunate that we kind of, for some, like, I guess it just got kind of cut for time. But which is weird because we got like a bunch of extra sized episodes like toward it at certain points, but whatever. I agree with you, though. I'm excited to see how this goes forward, how this kind of like relationships evolves, and if Tom Schwartz is telling the truth, and if he is actually going to kind of like take a step back from Sandoval and reevaluate kind of like some of his life choices and friendships and all that good stuff.
I am excited for next season. This has been so crazy. Like I also feel like we have to like take a pause and just be like, you know, I mean, it's so hard because we're talking about something that's really blown up people's lives. So like it feels almost like, like there's a part of you that's doing something, you know, kind of wrong, but it's also like, this has been such a wild journey, and it's like, I had so much fun recapping it with you, and thank you so much for like being on this ride with us.
Thank you. No, definitely. It's I feel honored to have been able to witness like this in real time, right? Like this is like a historic moment for reality TV, and like getting to watch that and like live through it, and like the way that social media has like completely amplified everything. Like, yes, I realize that Bravo has like a lot of like qualms about social media and like how intense the fans can get. But at the same time, like the fans are what moves these stories forward and like what like, you know, keeps this thing going. And you know, it's been a wild ride this season.
It has been
Yeah.
crazy. I do honestly kind of hope everyone comes back. I just want to see, you know, what the aftermath is once everyone can have a little bit of a break from it. Like we've seen it in the past. We have seen, you know, Kristen come back. We've seen Jax come back after their whole like cheating scandal. Not to make a comparison, because we understand that those are not the same things, but you know, this show has seen so much crazy behavior, and they've always kind of found a way back to each other.
Yeah.
Although
even
they
Stassi,
are older.
like Stassi and Katie were completely alienated from one another at one point, and like they still, you know, she made it into her wedding.
That is true. I mean, even look at all the friendships. Like Lala and Katie are now super close, and they like completely hated each other.
Yeah, exactly. Katie and Sheena were friends at one point. Like these guys have gone through everything together. So
yeah, they've been there and back. I do feel like we could not talk about Secrets Revealed without talking about the reemergence of the Sandoval and Ariana / Kristen / Jack / Schwartz apartment.
Yeah. Too many things happened to that apartment.
So many things happened in that apartment. And I did want to ask you, like, are there key moments that you could remember that happened in that old apartment? They did show the ones that I was thinking of immediately, which was the golden nugget. That's low. When Sandoval finally admits to Stassi that he had hooked up with Ariana at the Golden Nugget.
Yeah. For me, the one scene that they didn't leave in there was, or they left out, I guess, was Stassi texting Jax from Kristen's phone because she's trying to figure out like if Kristen and Jax hooked up. So she texts Jax from Kristen's phone being like, hey, Stassi knows, like, what are we gonna do? And Jack's fully like because they've clearly had like, you know, like we're not going to talk about this, we're not going to text about it, we're not going to like address it. And so Jax texts back like, what are you talking about, like you know, and he's like basically going along with the bit of like the agreed upon, like we're not talking about this did not happen, like deny. And so that's what like convinces Stassi temporarily that like, okay, maybe like nothing did happen. And that happened in that apartment.
That's a good one. Also, I'm surprised that they didn't show the iconic Kristen coming to get her mail in the green dress.
Oh my god, yeah, so good.
After
she had to come get her like DVR too, her like TiVo.
Which
because it was a box, guys. It was a box. You had to come get your box.
Apparently, I think she said on like maybe it was Brav Bros. So many podcasts. I think she had said that like the reason she was all dressed up is because she had done like a pickup that day, or like, she had done a confessional and she just went there after.
Yeah.
But I don't want to believe that.
Who knows?
I just want to believe that she put on this like clubbing green dress and heels
dress, like...
and she went to pick up her mail at her ex-boyfriend's house.
Yeah, exactly. Just to make him jealous. It was quite like, it was like a nighttime dress. Like it was not like a daytime dress, that's for sure. So
and she was like completely done up. That was such a good moment.
It was good.
And there's probably other ones. Yeah.
Definitely. But those are two really good ones, I think. Let us know if you guys have any. Let us know if you have any memories of this apartment, this disgusting apartment.
What are we going to talk? Yeah, tell us what do you want us to talk about next? We still have some thoughts on VPR that will probably continue to get out for at least a little while.
But we're definitely excited to move on to new and different things and new and different TV shows. So let us know what you guys think.